Okay, could you please state your name, please, and tell us what you do?
My name's Nick Phillips, and I'm a sound designer, music producer, artist, and composer.
Okay. How did you get into where you are now?
How did I get into where I am now? I initially started as an artist, making my own records about 20 years ago. I started by going clubbing and being in a club and hearing this music that I just thought was amazing. And I wanted to learn how it was made. I had no concept of how it was made. Someone came up to me and went, "This record that's playing, I know who's made it." And I was like, "You know who's made this record?" I had no idea. And then I went into a studio, booked a little studio in Mornington Crescent with a mate of mine, and we went in there and just taking records in, sampling records. And then after a year, we finished a track, and we were like, we finished a track. So then decided to release it. And then after releasing that and going through that experience, I decided I want to do music.
I can know you do varied things, all different styles of stuff. Could you sort of give the viewers an average day for you? What do you do in an average day?
Very varied. Very varied.
Okay, say if you was doing a bit of composing, how would you start?
Okay, if I'm doing composing, generally I'm working on my own. And if I'm working on a film, if I'm working on a TV documentary or something like that, I'll generally be working on my own, and I'll be working on my own for 2 weeks, 3 weeks at a time. You know, it's quite intense. I might be working with some musicians, might be recording some other musicians, but generally composing, I'm just working on my own. Now, if I'm writing, like as an artist, if I'm writing on my New Sins project with Lou, then we'll be in the studio together, just writing. Or if I'm producing an artist, like Igor Volk, then just the two of us will be in the studio. We might occasionally get another musician or backing singer or something to come in. But those projects, it's generally either me kind of working on my own or working with another artist or with a band or something like that.
Okay. To the viewers out there, especially the first years on doing their degree, what sort of advice would you give people? How would it get into sound music, sound design, or in that media? What sort of advice would you give them at this early stage in their career?
I think the advice I would give, personally, I love everything that I do. And I think that's, if I'm not loving what I'm doing, then I'm not going to put everything into it. And the result's not going to be, as good as it can be. When dealing with music and sound, it's a real passion for me, and it's kind of, I can't see it as a sort of functioning thing, as just a job to work on it. So I think as a starting point, you've got to love doing it, which I think a lot of people do to start doing something as crazy as working in music and sound. And creating content, creating your own music, working with other people, just basically collaborating with people as much as you can. If you're working in music, if you're working on short films, just working with people, getting that experience.
Can you give a little brief overview of what it was like when you was it Pinewood Studios?
Shepperton.
So I know it was a studio somewhere. Working on Tron, what was that like working on Tron? Because an iconic follow-up film.
It was quite technical. I mean, the department that I work in at Shepperton, it's basically the foreign version re-recording section. So it's a big, tight team of people. And I don't know who's aware of it, but a film is made in domestic, but it's the foreign versions which are where they generate so much of their income. So you're working with different territories, and it's basically, you've got the Pro Tools sessions, and you're editing and putting into the film the dialogue for a different foreign version.
Yeah.
But it was through that process that I learnt about how sound and music and dialogue and Foley works in these, top-end feature films, basically.
Okay, let's have a look at my little questions here. What I know it's another technical one, everyone says. What DAWs do you use, and what purpose do you use them for?
Well, mainly music creation, I use Logic. I use Pro Tools. Pro Tools I trained on an Icon, but Pro Tools, and this was for music production. So I would work with an artist. If I was producing an artist, for instance, and I've kind of stopped doing it so much now, but I would create something in Logic, then I would bounce out the stems and put it into Pro Tools, and then do final mixes in Pro Tools, because there's something just about how it kind of locked everything together. If I'm working on anything for picture, it all kind of generally goes into Pro Tools. If I'm working on film, I might create something in Logic, but it all ends up in Pro Tools. And for audio editing, it ends up in Pro Tools, but a lot of creation is Logic. I might start something or do something in Ableton as well, but then what I've done in Ableton will pretty much end up in Logic.
For you, because you worked at Abbey Road on the LA Noir game.
Yeah.
Can you tell everyone what was the feeling like walking in that day with a full-piece orchestra and recording a score that you wrote yourself?
It was pretty amazing, actually. Sitting in the room when the orchestra's actually performing a piece that I'd written or co-written, and then it's phenomenal. It's amazing.
So not much more we can say with that,
No,
really, is there?
It was
Beatles and Nick Phillips, really, is it? Yes, actually, because I was quite interested in the lecture. Could you explain sonic branding?
Sonic branding.
Yeah, because it's quite, even to me, that's a very new terminology.
Sonic branding is, from what I understand and from working with the companies that I work with, sonic branding, you're creating an aesthetic to what the design agency, their design is about visual, it's how things look. And so there's an aesthetic to what the company are trying to put across. They have keywords, they have feelings, they have things that they're actually trying to portray. And sonic branding, you're kind of doing that with sound,
Okay.
And it can be.
Do you think it's a whole new area? Is it?
I wouldn't say it's new. It's been around for sonic logos for Intel, for instance.
Yeah. Yeah, you forget them because they're so ingrained in society now, like the Mac Startup tune and all the rest of it.
The Mac Startup tune, I was watching the other day about the deep sound for the THX. When you go into a cinema, that sound that goes, ooh, that's a sonic logo.
Yeah.
That's sonic branding. And it's I think probably it started in film, actually, for idents at the beginning of feature films.
There's a couple of random questions.
Okay.
What are you bad at?
What am I bad at?
Yeah. And it does not mean music-wise or anything. What are you bad at?
Rapping.
There you go. You've heard it from the man himself. What's the first song you ever remember hearing? That's difficult.
Oh, first song I remember hearing.
What that made an impact on you, say?
Oh God, I've got for some reason Tony Basil, Hey Mickey. But I'm not quite sure if that's it. I should think of something a bit cooler, or not. I can't remember.
Sorry.
Cut that bit out.
What are you listening to at the moment? What's getting you at the moment?
What am I listening to at the moment? What do I listen to a lot at the moment? I've been really getting into the not so new, but the most recent Arcade Fire album produced by James Murphy. It's really grown on me, actually. When it first came out, I kind of didn't really get into it, but recently I've been listening to that a lot. I, for some reason, go back when I worked on Iron Man 3. So when I was at Shepperton, I spent a lot of time in the edit suites listening with what I was doing to the score of Iron Man, and I love it. So I listen a lot to the score to Iron Man 3, even though I'd worked on it and listened to it about 40 times.
On your biography, it said I know you work for Middlesex University.
Yes.
What it says creative.
Well, I don't actually work for them.
You're a consultant.
Well, myself and my friend Florian,
I know Florian.
who you met,
Yeah.
we were invited to come up with an idea. This is through Florian's connection at Middlesex University, to come up with an idea for a research project. And it was based around the Science and Technology department, based around haptics. So when we brainstormed the idea to be able to interact with a painting using haptic technology and 3D sound, we presented that idea to the university, and they came back to us a few months later and said, yes, we'd like to go with this. So then we developed that over a year and a half, to the point where we had the exhibition in the end of January, which is where I met you. But then halfway through that process of working with a team of people at the university, the professors and PhD students, and a growing team of people outside of the university, they made myself and Florian creative directors in residence of Middlesex, of the Science and Technology. So we're in dialogue with them and taking this installation further and hopefully developing more. And it's a way that we can bring an idea to them and work with them and work with their resources and bring other resources and work on something with the university backing that can have an external life.
Yeah, I remember you saying before you really wanted to work with people with disabilities and Alzheimer's and that, because it is very tactile and very 3D personal. I mean, you was quite passionate about that when I actually interviewed you about that.
Yeah, and we did, on the last day of the exhibition, we did a usability study at the exhibition with a couple of different schools, and a group of autistic children came over and we did a usability study, and it was fascinating watching the autistic children using and experiencing the installation, and we're going to develop this further with the university, yes.
Okay, another one for the techies and the film buffs out there.
Yes.
Your favourite movie sound design? Your movie the most sound design that you love the most in it? Hard question, I know, but you have to answer it.
Well, I mean, I suppose it's a real cliche, but my favourite is Blade Runner.
Yeah, I'd second that one.
So
I know there's not much to say about that. I don't think really. For me, it is as well. Definitely is as well. I just always ask that to sound design people, because for a certain age group, that is the one that will make so much difference to people.
And I was talking about it to someone yesterday because of the new Meltdown festival that's happening at the South Bank this year. I don't know if you're into. Did you listen to Timeless, Goldie? Do you remember?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And they're performing that with the Heritage Orchestra this summer, because when Massive Attack curated Meltdown a few years ago, can't remember when, they had the Heritage Orchestra performing live the soundtrack to Blade Runner.
It's because they actually do concerts at the Albert Hall of video game scores as well, don't they?
Yeah.
Going right back to Pac-Man, but as an orchestra score, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Fantastic, yeah.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how long time we got left actually. 2 minutes. Favourite plugins in the DAW?
Oh.
The standards. What's doing it for you at the moment?
I don't really sort of delve that deep. I kind of come back to sound toys and waves.
Really? Yeah, sound toys very good, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not really. I'm not that sort of techie. I kind of just kind of want to get the job done. So I'm probably, when I've thought about that question afterwards, it will be completely different.
Here's another one. Where would you like to see yourself in, say, 10 years' time? Where would you see as a person and what you might have achieved in that period?
Well, one, I love all the different areas I work in. I definitely want to get more into the film scoring. You know, it's such an incredibly rich experience. You know, it's so creatively challenging, and it's such a large scale thing, and yeah, it's something quite addictive about it. But also, you know, pushing the 3D sound thing, and you know how pushing that with the technology. Yeah,